Hi, it's Thursday the 20th of March 2025. I'm continuing my walk along the Cambrian way. I camped about 3 miles out of Storey Arms last night. I'm just going up to my first high point of today. I think it's Fan Ned. But before that I'm heading down to there's a prehistoric standing stone on the route. So I'm going down there now to have a look at that. There's an information board about the standing stone here. Just going to have a little read on it. So it's believed that the stone was raised by the people living here about 4,000 years ago, but no one really knows why. It could have been a boundary stone, or it could have been a religious centre. And the other thing, it's the rock. The rock is an old red sandstone, which is found some distance away, so it may have been carried here by the Ice Age. So now it's time to head up to my first high point of the day, which is just up there. Nice views to start the day again. That's looking back towards Fan. So from here I'm heading up to another trig point. I think it's over in that direction. And then I'll be heading down to a small place called Claerddu. Just having a break out of the wind. That's the next high point I'm heading up to. And I can see over in the distance there's a big long ridge, and that's where I'm heading to this afternoon. And I was thinking of camping on the top, but it's getting quite breezy, so what I might do, there's a big lake at the foot of the ridge. I think it's Fan, and I know that's a good camping spot, so I might just head down there this evening. That's Welsh for Still Here, and that's the title of a popular Welsh folk song which they like to sing at sporting events. Just going to go and have a look at where I'll be heading this afternoon. So I'm heading up to that high point in the distance, and there's two routes. There's a more direct route which is going right down into this valley, and then you've got to go up the hill and down into another valley. And I did that last year, but there's a lot of steep uphill and downhill walking, so it does take a while. And the longer way is to go down to Claerddu down in the valley, and then there's a bit of a steep climb to get onto the ridge, and then you just follow the ridge all the way up to the top. So I think that's probably a better route. It'll be more scenic as well. Just approaching Glintor. Just started the last climb of the day. This first bit coming out of the village is quite steep. I'm heading up to some waterfalls, and I think once I get up to there then it starts to flatten out a bit. Hope to get some nice views too as well soon. Didn't see any waterfalls, I think they're too far low down. That's the trig point I was at earlier today, and this is the alternate route. So you have to go down that first valley onto that hill, then into that valley, and then all the way up here. So it is shorter, but it's quite it's a lot of steep climbing on it. But there's some nice waterfalls going up on the way, I remember that. So it's just one more little steep bit and then I'll be on the top of the ridge. I'm just approaching the trig point, which marks the highest point of this ridge. It's just on that next high point. Then after that, I've got a choice for camping tonight. I can either carry on along the ridge, and just after the trig point, there's a dip with a stream running through it. So I could try and find a camping spot there, or alternatively, there is a path which goes down to this lake. It's Llyn Fan Far. And I know this is a really good camping spot, so I may play it safe because I don't want to be stuck on the mountain this evening as it's getting dark trying to find a place to camp. So I'm just going to head down to the lake this evening, and then in the morning there's a footpath which follows the foot of the ridge. It's the Beacon's Way, and that eventually links up with the Cambrian Way, and I'll follow that into Claerddu tomorrow. Weather again, although it's a bit breezy at the moment. Right, time to get down to the lake and out of this wind. Oh, it's so nice to get out of the wind. So I can see why this is a very popular camping spot. It's absolutely beautiful here. So I'm just going to wander down and just make a coffee and then look for a spot for the night. Found a nice spot. Still a bit breezy down here, but it's not as bad as it was on the top. So just going to settle down now. And so tomorrow I'm just following the foot of the ridge round to the next lake. Then I'll link up to the Cambrian Way again, and it's about a 40-mile walk down to Claerddu from here, so that'll be quite nice. So yeah, that's been quite a nice day. So just going to settle down now and then off early tomorrow morning. So until tomorrow morning, good night. I think I'm going to go back up onto the ridge to complete the walk, because that footpath that goes up to the top I thought it would be quite steep, but it's not too difficult actually. So just going to head back up to the ridge to finish my walk down to Claerddu. Nice sunrise to start the day, although the forecast today is there's some showers coming in, but I'm staying in a hotel tonight so I can enjoy everything out when I get into the town tonight. Just heading down to that little dip out of curiosity. I'm just going to see if there was a camping spot there last night, although I guess it would have been very windy up here last night. Yeah, there are a few flat spots here to put a tent up, but I'm glad I went down to the lake because it's quite nice down there. Just approaching Claerddu. Just arrived in the centre of Claerddu, so I'm just going to have a little break here, and then I'll be continuing on the middle stage of the walk, which goes from Claerddu up to Bothy. So until then, good night. So today I'm starting the middle section of the Cambrian way, and this is approximately a 105-mile route, and it goes from Claerddu up to Bothy, and I'm planning to spend about 8 days doing it. So today I'm doing about 16 to 17 miles. It's quite an easy stretch of the walk this. I'm heading towards a hostel which has got a small camping area, so I'll be camping there tonight. First part of today's walk, I'm just following some country lanes for a bit, and then I'll be following a river for a couple of miles, and then I'll be going up for a very pretty valley. Now, last year I met someone who was cycling down the valley, and he called it the Bothy Valley, and on YouTube this morning someone called it the Bothy Valley, so not really sure how to pronounce it, but it's a very picturesque valley, and that's where the hostel is, and that's the best part of today's walk. Just arrived in the valley, which I'll be following all the way up to the hostel. Just my personal opinion again, but I think now is probably the best time of year for doing the Cambrian way. So from late March through to April and May, mainly because from June onwards the bracken starts coming up, and the bracken along the route can be a real pain from June onwards, because it can get really thick, and it covers the path, and it can be quite difficult to get through. And also July and August, Wales can have hot days as well, and some of these uphill stretches I wouldn't like doing them in July and August on a 30 degree day. It would be quite exhausting doing that. So yeah, for me, I think April would be the best time for doing the walk. Just approaching the hostel. I left the hotel about 8 o'clock this morning. I thought, I'd get here by about 4 o'clock quite easily. It's about 10 to 5, so it's, well, not too bad, I suppose. So I'm just going to head out to the hostel and then look for the campsite. The famous Tony Drake bench is just outside, but I'll have a look at that tomorrow morning, because I just want to get my tent up and do some cooking before sunset tonight. Right, that's everything set up. So tomorrow I'm heading up to Bothy. I can't pronounce the name. I'll put it at the screen when I approach it. It's about a 15-mile walk I'll be doing tomorrow. So yeah, I hope the weather stays like this. I think it might be a bit wet during the night, but I think on the whole it's going to be quite a fairly dry week, touch wood. So yeah, just gonna make a coffee in the kitchen and then tomorrow morning continue up the valley. So until tomorrow, good night. So just outside the hostel, they've put up this bench in memory of Tony Drake, who he was the main driving force behind the Cambrian Way. And also just outside the hostel there's a little information board about Tony Drake and the Cambrian Way, which is quite interesting. So from here it's a 15-mile walk to the Bothy. I'm heading down to, it's a place called Strata, Florida. There's an old ruined abbey down there. Just got to the top of the valley. I think the next few miles now are quite easy walking across moorland with some nice views. I think today is when I arrive at the halfway bench, because exactly halfway along the Cambrian Way they've installed a bench with some nice views looking down over a valley. So it'd be quite nice to get to that today. Just arrived at the top, so just going to have a little break and then plan the next part of the walk. I'm just going down from Gron down to a forest, and I'm just looking for a gate that leads into the forest. I'm just following this little ravine downhill. I'm fairly certain I'm on the right route, but I had to climb a barbed wire fence on the way down, and I had to do that last year. So it may be there's a stile somewhere along the barbed wire fence, but I couldn't see one anywhere, so I just had to climb over. But I should be getting down to the forest gate quite soon. I've just arrived in Strata, Florida. There's an old ruined abbey here. I think it's closed at the moment, but I wouldn't bother going in to look anyway, because I want to get up to the Bothy as soon as possible. And also the abbey, it was destroyed during the dissolution of the monasteries in the 16th century. I think King Henry VIII, he didn't get on well with the Catholic Church, and so he eventually confiscated all their wealth and knocked all the priories and all the monasteries down, and they made a pretty good job of this abbey, unfortunately. So there's only a few ruins to see. So I'm just going to start. It's like yesterday, I'm heading up a nice picturesque valley up to the Bothy, so I should be there in about 3 hours time or so, I think. Just arrived in the valley, which is my last uphill climb of the day. So I'm just going up to, there's a reservoir right at the top. Then about a mile or so after the reservoir is the Bothy. So we should be there quite soon. Just arrived at the halfway signpost. and just next to it is the halfway bench. So this marks the halfway point of the Cambrian Way. Although of course the northern half, that's where all the scrambling stages are, so I'm going to have to probably allow a bit more time for doing those sections. So the Bothy is it's a small house in a very remote location. So I guess many years ago it must have been a sheep farmer's house or something like that. But nowadays it's accommodation for hikers doing hiking across this area. I'm not really sure whether to actually stay in the Bothy tonight or camp outside. There is a camping area outside, because I'm not a big fan of hostels or bothies, because you always get someone snoring all night, and if you've got to do a 15-mile walk the next day, that's a little bit annoying. But I'm just going to go up and just decide when I get there, because I've got to put my tent up anyway because it's a little bit wet from last night, and it's going to be quite a warm, dry night tonight anyway, so it might be just as pleasant in the tent tonight. There's a YouTube channel called Snowy Matrix, and he did the Cambrian Way, and he did a quite informative set of videos about the hike, and he stayed here one night, and he didn't want to go in at first because he saw a film called Evil Dead, and it sort of reminded him of that, so he didn't feel like going in the house. I've never seen Evil Dead, but from the title I'm guessing it's not exactly a happy and cheerful film. But yeah, it does look a little bit spooky, I guess. So just going to have a rest when I get there and have a little look around. Yeah, there's a really nice camping area here. This is the spot where Snowy Matrix spent the night, so I think that's a nice spot. I'll go there, I think. Just going to have a look around the house. So this is the eating area, and just next door there's a small kitchen, and there's some sleeping bunks, I suppose, and there's a couple of rooms upstairs. Someone's left their sleeping mattress here. Yeah, if it's a really stormy night or it's below freezing, I'll come up here. But it's quite mild at the moment, so I think I'll stay in a camping site for tonight. And just next to the house there's a toilet here, which is one of the main reasons I want to stay here tonight. Right, time to put the tent up. Right, that's my home set up for the night again. So tomorrow I'm heading down to a village, I think it's pronounced Ponterwood, and I'm staying in a hotel when I get down there. I hope to upload a video, all going well, when I get to the village. So I'm just going to settle down now and then start heading down to the village in the morning. So until then, good night.